Good morning and welcome back, everyone. I've got a special video for you guys because recently I completed the 9x9 Caesar 3 challenge. So I'm going to show everything today. I'm going to show my cities in order. All except the first two. We're going to skip Brundisium and Ostia because they're the tutorial cities, and we're going to jump right into it. The challenge was to beat every single map in the Reconquered campaign using nothing but 9x9 blocks. So those are these square-shaped blocks that are supposedly very bad. But you might be surprised at the results for this one. So let's dive into it. It's going to be a funny one. This is probably one of the more interesting challenges I've done in these kinds of games. So let me take you on a journey, and let's explore the Caesar 3 Reconquered 9x9 challenge. So starting off with map or mission number 3, this is Capua. Now, Capua is an interesting one because, you know, while the first two maps are really just tutorial maps, and you can beat them however you want, they're just like on the rails. Capua is still kind of tutorial-y, but it's the first one where it's like, okay, you know, you've unlocked basically everything. You actually have a couple restrictions, specifically on entertainment. Go make a city. Now, when I say this is kind of like a tutorial one, is this map is here to introduce you to the idea of making and using a lot of cart depots here. So cart depots are the key. But before I get too into that, maybe we should talk about the actual 9x9. So these are our 9x9 blocks here. You can see they fit a nice square amount of houses. We do keep some houses on the outside. You can see you need it because you won't be able to reach population goals if you're not doing that. And normally, you know, when you're doing a Caesar 3 map, you're probably looking to make longer, thinner blocks. You're using these spaces. Like right here, a lot of people on Capua will make this their first block, and you could probably fit like a 20x8 or something right here, and it's totally fine. You'll leave like a little opening so you can get down to this island. You'll be able to fit another decently long block right here, another one right here, and you know, of course, another one right here. You won't even need that much, but you could. So with the 9x9, the main challenge is you don't have as many plebs as you want right away. It's really a slow tempo kind of block. Because not only do you have less space, you have less houses, which means less people coming in, but if you want to expand and get maybe the same amount of plebs you would have if you built a more efficient block, like the 22x6, right? The famous 22x6, you need to double up on everything. So now all of a sudden, instead of one market, you need two markets. Instead of one arena, you need two arenas. That's 25 more employees right there. You need extra temples, you need extra libraries or schools, bathhouses, engineers, granaries. Maybe not granaries, but we'll get to that in a bit. And what that means is instead of moving a lot of your early employment into your economy, which is what you want to do on a lot of these maps, you're spending a lot on infrastructure for your blocks so they can level up. Now, we will find a way to solve this later, kind of. But in Capua, you can see this is, I saved it actually a little bit before we finished it, so this is slightly before the finish, but it's basically done, and there's no more blocks after this one. In Capua, you can definitely see that the two main challenges that we're going to have in this run is space. Again, the 9x9 is not making effective use of space, and plebs, workers. But overall, this map wasn't too hard. We had enough room for everything we needed, and there's no military on this map, so we weren't under any pressure to, you know, allocate even more resources into getting an army or anything, so it was just fine. Torrentum, on the other hand, is a military map, and this one I saved very close to the completion point on the map. I don't know why I didn't save as soon as I finished all these maps. Don't ask me questions. I don't know why I do things that I do. So this map actually provided us with a little bit of a challenge, and that was, I wanted to get a fourth block on this map, but it wasn't immediately obvious where I wanted to do this. And you're probably screaming at me right here. It's like, well, you know, right here is a fine spot, and this is okay. I was using it for a dump of gods here. Um, but it ended up for me being, well, I kind of want to just get a few blocks and have them really, really upgraded, because you get a lot of stuff on this map for free. And so that's what I did. Now, this was the first map that kind of, my brain opened up to the idea of having the 9x9 blocks very close to each other and sharing resources. So I can have like a granary shared between 2 blocks here. A warehouse can be shared between maybe even 3 blocks here. I've got a warehouse down here, and I think that's actually feeding all 3 of these blocks with just one warehouse. Now, for this map, it actually wasn't too bad because the military is quite light. This is your first real military map. So I actually overdid the military in the beginning here. But otherwise, once again, we kind of ran into a map, and this is going to be a theme with some of these early maps, where no matter how you want to play it with some of these maps, there isn't really a wrong way to go about it. You can pretty much complete it however you want, even with a block like the 9x9, which is not very efficient, or that's what they want you to believe anyway. So with that said, let's move into the next one. Tarraco. Good old Tarraco here. So, Tarraco was the first time I think we had to stop and think. Now, normally on this map, and I actually did this map maybe a couple months ago on the normal Reconquered YouTube series, which you guys might have watched. Normally, the block layout is very favorable to like the normal longer, thinner blocks, or your 22x6 or similar equivalent, right? In this one, I really wanted to get 2 blocks up here, and I did, but it was pretty tight. You can see that there's kind of, and because of the rocks, right, we actually had to make little bumps in the road here to go around, and in this block, we don't have any houses on the exterior. Over here, we've got a couple, we've got some, but it's still a little goofy, a little funny looking, right? It's not great. So in this one, even though it seemed like it shouldn't be too much of a problem, the space actually became an issue. The same was happening up here. Look at how much dead space there is up here, where a normal block would have gotten you like a very nice ring of houses. But, you know, we just couldn't take advantage of it. And what this meant is, at the end, in order to reach our population goal of 5K, we actually had to build a 4th block over here. And usually, I mean, you can do this if you want. There's nothing to say you can't do this on this map. But it's usually, I think, enough that you can get very nice upgraded blocks here and here, and you're pretty close to your 5K goal if you're setting them up really well. But in this case, space became a big factor, and we were having to deal with it. But, fortunately for us, there's no military on this map. The travel distance for the land traders is not long, and they've got a very direct path off, on and off, and there's so much stuff that they want to buy. Even the map event here, the earthquake, ended up not really being a problem whatsoever. To be honest, this is a gotcha for new players. If it's the first time going on the map and you've set things up optimally, and then all of a sudden this earthquake hits you and you're like, oh no, you know, I gotta redo everything. But once you know what's going on here, this one again was a pretty straightforward, crushing victory, just with the first real hints of, oh, we're gonna have to think about this space problem. Syracuse is a funny map. Now, you can see that I made a save literally right as we're getting invaded, right before we're about to hit the victory conditions here. Syracuse is a bigger military map. Might as well play this out a bit. And for us on this map, space was a little bit of a problem, as you might guess. We actually had to go up here with a very long line of aqueducts so we could inhabit this area here. Is this going to be okay? Should be okay. Maybe. One rogue elephant has made it into my city and is blowing everything up. Did it go? Is it gone? I think it's gone. Okay. We'll just pretend that never happened. Alright, I don't know why I made a save right there, but I did. Alright, let's keep talking about the city. So, I probably should have moved more troops over here. You know, I could have done that better. Anyway, this map has a bit more of intimidating military presence, and it's kind of the first map that introduces you to having split defenses. So you have an invasion point here, so they're both kind of... Yeah, I put them together because they're both going the same direction. But you also have this funky one down here that you're going to have to be prepared for. And this does tax you a little bit on your early pleb uses. But the flip side of this map is you're not taxed at all on space. So you have this huge wide open area here where you can fit tons of houses very easily, and it's no problem at all. You can see we're fully upgraded on a lot of these. Now, this is the first map where you can actually get patricians as well if you so choose. You don't have to. The prosperity goal is such that you don't need patricians. We actually ended up getting a nice block over here as well to help us out, and we just max upgraded them just before the patrician level, so you'll see there, Grand Insulae, the happiest of the plebs. Very, very awesome. And that's actually how we won this one. You don't have to do this way. Of course, you can get patricians instead, but patricians also take up less population. So if you wanted like a big population boom and a lot of working plebs, this is probably a safer way to do it. All in all, this map wasn't too bad for the 9x9 because the space just wasn't an issue. And as long as you can handle the military here, which starts off pretty gradually, so it's okay, then it wasn't a killer. But we're gonna get very soon. This is gonna change. Let's move into the next one. Mission 7. Oh yes, this is Miletus. Everyone's favorite Miletus. This one is your first real mandatory patrician mission. This mission is a bit wonky. It's also your first desert map, and desert maps actually were a little bit harder for the 9x9 for a couple reasons. Your fountains won't reach all the way to the edge of your blocks here, so you can see that we're actually not touching the edge. So what this means is this isn't actually like a terrible deal breaker for the 9x9. You don't have to reduce the size. But we want to get all your houses in first, and then have them upgraded, and then put in the fountains so they upgrade all together. So you don't end up with some kind of mess of 1x1s with no water, and then 1x1s with water and no one's merging. That's the only thing that you really have to change. Now, a nice thing about this is normally if you have these big long blocks on a desert map, you need multiple, at least 2 prefectures to patrol around so your buildings don't catch fire. But because the 9x9 is so small, it actually helped us out, because we didn't have to double down on prefectures, which in a block setup where you're doubling down so much on everything, right? You need all kinds of entertainment and whatnot. It's nice to have just one thing that you don't have to worry about, that being the prefectures, which was cool. Now, on this map, we got our first patricians, right? And we actually set up 2 patrician blocks here. And I did this very stupidly. The correct way to do this is just to get your Grand Temple of Mercury out and get plazas. But I decided I'm too good for plazas, and I'm going to do this without it. So what did I ended up doing is I ended up getting just 4 patricians per block. Well, technically 5 here. And putting in a ton of statues to try to up the desirability. This is the stupidest thing I've ever decided to do, and I don't know why at the time it seemed kind of fun, but I can assure you this wasn't a good idea. Just get a Grand Temple of Mercury, get your plazas, and put in extra patricians. We're going to see an example of cleaner patrician blocks soon for the 9x9 and even 4x4 patricians, so I'm excited when we get to those. But otherwise, even though there is military on this map, it's not too intimidating. They only come at you from down here, and then you get asked to send reinforcements to other cities. And unlike some other maps, there actually is quite a lot of space here for blocks. You've got a couple areas down here. You, of course, have the main area that you're probably going to get first up here. We did end up getting another block up here, even though this was kind of in the way. I didn't really like this one. And then, of course, you have plenty of space over here. So all in all, for 6,500 plebs, you're not in any kind of pressure or a danger for your block space and your amount of plebs. So this one, a bit of a challenge because we had to make our first patrician block, but otherwise it was a-okay. Ah, yes, and here it is. This was the make or break map of the run. We actually had to... Did I have to restart this one? I don't remember. I might have had to reload at an earlier point. So now we're getting into the territory where the inefficiency of the block is becoming a problem. Now, Mediolanum, or Milan, is kind of a famous map. It's the biggest military challenge, all the way early in map 8, too. You've got just a huge ask for your military. You have a couple of saving graces here, which you can actually kind of see right away. Your initial housing area can actually fit 3 9x9s very cleanly. But, and this is the big but, there is an edict on this map where, as you can see, you cannot get small temples. So what that means is, from the outset of the map, you need to start construction projects. So you need to get large temples. Every time you get a new block, you need a new construction setup to get another large temple so you can advance your plebs up to small castles, or at least up to the larger hovels, and then to small castles. What this means is you're investing a lot of money into these projects without having enough plebs to invest into your economy. And you're probably going to end up going into the red on this mission. This was the first time I actually had to bail myself out with my private savings. And it was actually a bit intense because just as you're like, okay, I finally have blocks up, I'm getting small castles, I've got some large temples, I've got a little bit of economy, and then all of a sudden the Carthaginians or the Punics are coming in, and you're like, oh my god, I have to spend a lot of money and I have to get forts, I have to get walls, I have to get towers, and you're just like constantly in the red and you're freaking out. This was by far the hardest map for this challenge, and I encourage you, if you're an avid Caesar 3 player, to give this one a try. I did kind of have a cute one here. I thought it would be nice to get a fake 9x9 here. This ended up being way less efficient than a normal 9x9. But this was just a cute little side project that had, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 houses. This was not worth it at all. We should have just moved this somewhere else. But I just wanted to make a cute little river block, so I did that. Our patricians, with our Grand Temple of Mercury, are starting to take better shape here. Now, unfortunately, again, because of the need for large temples on this map, there's a lot of wasted space, but we still managed to get a full patrician block here. And for 3x3s, this is ideal, right? This is basically how it's going to look in this challenge from now on, with a couple of exceptions. Otherwise, once you've solved the early game on this map, it does start to settle down, but this one, with everything going on between the invasions, the construction projects, and every just kind of mess in the early game that just won't stop, was a super big challenge. And even other high-level players I know who have played this map and tried to do it 9x9 actually struggled a bit trying to get this one done, including some actual restarts. It was great. So with that said, let's move on to the next one. Good old Lugdunum. And I'm sad to say I actually forgot to save this one at the end. I'm so ashamed of this. So there's actually a missing patrician area. But you basically see how the map is going to end here for us. Now, the nice thing about this one for Lugdunum is I literally just finished the normal Lugdunum playthrough, so you can see what a finished map looks like. But for Lugdunum, it actually ended up being pretty easy. The amount of space you have is very generous, and there's 0 military on this map, which means you're never feeling any time pressure to get anything done. Also, the edicts aren't that bad. So what this meant for us eventually is that it functioned basically how Lugdunum functions on a normal playthrough, which is slow, right? Lugdunum, again, if you just watched our playthrough of a normal Lugdunum Reconquered run, because your plebs enter up here, and let's say they want to move into this block here, they have to go all the way around the map, all the way over here, up onto the grassland, up over here, down this ramp, and finally in here. And because there's a limit to how many immigrants can be on the screen at the same time, it's just a painfully... I'm not going to say painfully. It's not that painful. You just turn up the speed. It's a slow expanse. But at the end of the day, Lugdunum, essentially, even with the 9x9, functioned basically exactly the same as a normal Lugdunum run. So this one, I had some expectations for it, but it was surprisingly straightforward and simple. Now, Carthage, on the other hand, was a bit more difficult, and I'll tell you why. Carthage, which is the map we're going to be starting very soon and continuing our normal series, is a military map, so you do have some significant military action here. This one is personally one of my favorite maps because the way that Commissar Merrick did it is he made it a branching path map, so you actually get to choose, do you want to support Pompey or Caesar? And the map changes significantly on who you choose. Now, me not being a cuck, I of course chose Caesar. If you choose Pompey, you're either doing it as a completionist, or you're just naturally a bad human being and you should feel bad about yourself. But if you're just a normal Chad, an average citizen, and you chose Caesar here, you have a bit more of a straightforward path to victory, in my opinion. So we still have a lot of varied invasion points here. Oh, there's a sandstorm. Look at that. So you have here, 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 and here that you can get invaded from. Now, the actual invaders aren't, like, too overwhelming, but you can see, actually, on this map, you do have a pop goal of 8,000. We actually kind of had to expand into a danger zone here, because this is very close to 2 invasion points. And we needed the plebs, so we actually ended up building a block right down here where things were pretty intense. Our patricians ended up where most patricians go if you play this map normally, so this was fine. And then we still ended up with our Venus Grand Temple over here, and I think we might have had, yeah, we have Mercury over here. This map was challenging for sure. You're just like in a normal playthrough, you probably will start right here for your first block, and then move over this way for your second block. Same thing for the 9x9, you're just going 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Now, fortunately, you have a ton of fish on this map, and they're very close to where your blocks are going to be. So it's pretty efficient getting, there we go, getting your food to where you need to be. You'll see a couple of things that are kind of going to be continued thematically in this playthrough. So you see shared granary in some of these areas that people can use. Actually, I lied. I don't think this is shared. This one, yeah, it is shared. Okay. So this one is delivering down here, and then both these blocks are using these. You can see there's some starvation going on right now, so we're a little bit out of the loop here on our fish, but that's all right. And then you can expand up this way and get more fish up here. I thought about putting something here, a block here, but at the end of the day, it was just too narrow. I just wasn't able to fit a 9x9 here, no matter how I tried to slice it. And I didn't want to get something right here, like right at the exit either. So that's why I ended up getting this 9x9 right here. Overall, this mission wasn't as tough as Milan, but for a 9x9 challenge, it still had some serious challenges. A great map, and I think a fine addition for a 9x9 challenge, but this is what it looks like. Coming up to mission number 11 is Tarsus. Tarsus we happily did save right at the end of the mission here. We're just waiting for the prosperity to come out. Now, Tarsus is a funny one. There's actually plenty of space on the map for 9x9s in Tarsus, but you have to plan out your water pretty carefully here, I would say. Let's just go ahead and get these guys in here. We'll fight this off. You can see that there's a lot of water we're taking down in very kind of long, windy paths here with our aqueducts here as well. What this ends up doing is you're kind of designing blocks based on where you're getting water, but you're also not wanting to interfere with your trade routes, because it is a bit of a long trade route here. Good job, Spirit of Mars. Thank you for killing my enemies. And on this map as well, you're setting up a lot of a lot of raw resources while also getting some military. You also have an early objective from Crassus to build a caravanserai here, which you can ignore, but I did choose to do it here. And that led to us kind of struggling a little bit in the very beginning because of that early building project. And also, for food, you might notice, there's no farmland on this map. There's zero farmland. Your only form of food is fish. So you need to get fishing up early, and fishing, because you need, you know, a few wharves, your granary, you need your shipyard, and then you're probably going to need, in most maps, a cart pusher to take fish down to the actual granaries they're going to. That can be a little bit of a challenge. Otherwise, though, this map kind of ended pretty safely. Our patricians, we did have kind of an empty space here because there was a rock right here, but that is what it is. And otherwise, it ended up being a pretty straightforward victory. Not too bad. Oh, Tingis. Oh, Tingis. Tingis is up next. And Tingis, I have to say, was probably one of the easiest ones we did. Tingis is a very relaxing map. In fact, it's probably near Lugdunum for map quality for me. There's just nothing in this map that's gonna scream at you like, oh my god, we're in trouble or we need to do something. Even on a normal playthrough or 9x9, it doesn't really matter. You can easily set this map up and kind of make your way to victory. There's a lot of open space here for blocks. You've got a nice amount of farmland right in the middle. It's a temperate map, so your wheat is getting a bonus to production, which is nice. And look at this. We actually ended up with 3 9x9s here and 3 right here. This is starting to be super efficient. Nothing is efficient with a 9x9, but in quotes. We have 3 9x9s sharing 1 granary and 1 warehouse here. So they, even though they're their own individual 9x9s, they're connected via roads blocked by roadblocks here. And they're able to share resources, so I don't have to like get 2 more granaries or 2 more warehouses and things like that. Whenever you can do something like this in a challenge like this where you can get shared resources, it behooves you to do it. Now up here it was a little bit different because this one we weren't able to connect. We did set up a separate granary for this guy over here along with his own... Did we do his own warehouse somewhere? Oh yeah, we set this one up over here. So he's taking warehouse stuff from over here. So these two shared this, but this one had its own. This was a luxury block here. This map is very big economically, so you end up with just a ton of stuff. Because you're trying to produce a lot. And you're trying to produce almost everything. So you have pottery, you have bricks, you have weapons that you're trying to do. You're trying to do your furniture. And you've got a center over here for your land traders, and you have a center over here for your docks, and it's just a lot going on. Fortunately, there was plenty of room because we didn't need to use a lot of the space for extra 9x9s, and it would have been easy to. We were able to just kind of have our own area for work projects up here. So we got our Colosseum. We got a couple of grand temples over here. We have plenty of unused space. This was, even in a 9x9 run, a very relaxing run. And over here with our patricians, same deal. We even were able to get some patricians on the outside of the block here and have a nice 3x3 area. Once again, the military challenge on this one wasn't too bad. So I think this one for a 9x9 was a relaxing walk in the park. It was great. Now, Valentia, on the other hand, or Valentia, was a bit different. Valentia has a huge pop goal, 12,000. It's actually enormous. And this is the first time we actually had to double down on patricians and get kind of a shared patrician area here, so 2 9x9s for patricians, sharing resources, and just try to expand everywhere that we could within reason. This was actually a bit of a challenge. Now, one of the quirks about this map, which is kind of fun, is that you're only selling raw resources. You basically have no sales potential for manufactured goods. So you're relying heavily on your lighthouse and caravanserai to make sure that your traders can carry extra stuff, so they're buying as much stuff as they can all the time. And this also means that you're building just a ton of resource gathering structures, so you can just keep your warehouses full and keep selling. Valentia, in my opinion, is actually a fantastic map. There is a military aspect to this map, but it's not too bad. You have 2 invasion points here, and then you have 1 down here. And they start off pretty small, so you're not really in too much danger most of the time. And you have a ton of farmland, and you can see there's so much unused space here, actually. We could have gotten way more stuff if we chose to, although we're minus 167 plebs, so maybe not. This map, space did actually become a problem. We had our first area, so this is where we expanded first. This were our first 2 blocks, and this was very clean. We got a 3rd one right here, but then it became a question of, well, you know, normally I put my patricians up here, but this looks a little bit tight, so I was like, you know, I don't have a lot of space on the periphery here for a lot of buildings. And then I was looking over here, because I've done patricians here before, and I was like, this is looking a little bit weird too. So I put a normal block here. We had this area, which could have been fine for patricians, but I was like, it's kind of close to the invasion point. I ended up settling over here. And this is actually a very fun little side project to get two fully functional patrician 9x9s up next to each other, sharing resources that were actually pretty far away from this block, so we ended up getting 2 markets here to share the burden. But it ended up working out pretty nicely. As you can see, this is a completed Valentia here. And even with the 9x9, it might look horrible to some of you guys. There's so much empty space, unused space here. We still made it work. So this, again, was a fun, a bit of a challenge on the thinking part of it and designing part of it. But once we got it down, it was a blast. Number 14, mission number 14. We're approaching the last quarter of the maps here. This is Lutetia, and Lutetia was a bit hard. I'm not gonna lie. This one was a challenge. You still have a very high population goal, 12,000. But this one has a much more significant military presence here. You have a lot of angry barbarians knocking on your door all the time, coming from exact opposite sides of the map. So you have 2 invasion points at the top here, 1, 2. And then you have your invasion points down here, which are just kind of, we'll just call it 3, because it's basically 1 area. So this map forces you not only to have good split defenses, but you're also going to have to answer calls from the Empire, which is why I think our forts are empty right now, is they're out being lent to some other city. This map was a pretty significant challenge for a few reasons. You have your early area here, which was pretty apparent. This, I think, was like, okay, this is like where I want to go first, and we can fit some stuff here. We can also get another block here. But after that, we had a couple of obvious areas, but then with 12,000 plebs, we're like, you know, where do I want to expand out to? Food is a consideration. It's a northern map. You know, we got a lot of pigs. We got a lot of meat going on. We've got some vegetables going on in here and there. But with all the space you need for your infrastructure, and you can see we're using all this space here, all this space here. We ended up using a lot of space here. All of this up here ended up being for infrastructure. And you're trying to defend against very large invasion forces. This one ended up being a bit harder than I would have thought. The population goal, when you get to these big population goals, you're starting to think in your mind, it's like okay, you know, how many 12,000, how many 9x9s am I going to need to get 12,000 plebs? So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 9x9s plus a patrician block. So 9 total. Gets us to 12,000 with this, but that's with upgrades, right? So we're up to medium insulae here. We're at our 3x3 medium palaces here, and you can see we actually made, this was a pretty good patrician block here. So we've got the inner block, and then we had 3 over here. We could have even gotten a 4th, I think, over here. That would have been totally fine. So Lutetia, I think, was a difficult map. I think if I were to change anything, maybe get a block right here and try to like share resources between these 3. Although this ended up working out, it was okay. This one is a bit far from its resources, so we ended up putting the warehouse right here, but the granary was far away. So maybe putting the granary up here would have been better. There were certain things in this map, I think, looking at it now, I was like, you know, I could have done this a bit better. But we ended up getting the victory here without any restarts, and for me, that's a big W. All right, map number 15, Caesarea. The famous no food map here, no fish, no farms, nothing. This map surprises you because you're back down to a 4-digit population goal, 8,500. But this is a challenging map for a lot of reasons. No food maps are, for me, my least favorite maps. I understand why map makers are making these, and they've become more popular recently. And it can be an interesting challenge. You have to really be conscious of importing a lot. And they usually give you quite a big budget at the start because you're going to need to, you have to be importing all the time. The amount of infrastructure you have to set up very precisely here to get exactly what you want in the amounts you want it is definitely a head scratcher at certain points. It's not impossible by any means. Of course, you can see we've got a fully completed city here, including patricians here at the bottom, and medium insulae. We've got 4 of them right here and 2 of them right here. These are smaller insulae. So it ends up being fine, but this map, even though it wasn't like restart worthy, and part of that is, you know, I've done this before, so I know some of the tricks of the trade. Even though we didn't have to do any restarts, it was definitely probably my least favorite experience, but that I could say, even if I did this map normally, is a headache for me. But some people I've heard absolutely love this style of map. You know what? To each their own. It's good for you. Once you have your infrastructure online for this map, you're getting your imports done, you have like a regular steady source of food. And that's another thing, because you're relying on imports and trying to set up your food with your plebs are eating, but they're also having to wait for shipments to come in. It's not very regular. I mean, it is regular. It's just slower. You have to have a lot of ox pushers, you know, coming to deliver food because you want constant food coming in, right? You want to have oxen just waiting here to deliver food all the time, so that when the market ladies come in and empty this out, they're just replenish, go, go, go. Once you have it set up, it's okay. But with that in consideration, plus the defenses you need on this map, which are not huge, but you know they're a little bit considerable. You've got to have a very good strategy for this map. But once you have it down, it's pretty straightforward. Staying in the desert for map number 16, which we again have a nice finished city on. This is Damascus. Damascus is pretty unique. So Damascus is a map where you start off with no source of water. So you actually, this is the only one you have to rely on wells. And you have a very small pop because of this to start with. So what this means is, not only do you have to set up a lot of blocks quickly because you need the population with only wells, so you're not able to advance your houses that far. You need to be conscientious of the fact that you're going to have to drag your water all the way from the top of the map around this, all the way down here. So you need to set up your blocks in the beginning, having almost pre-planned this route so you don't accidentally like squeeze yourself out of the ability to get water on your own map. It's a bit difficult. This one was quite a challenge. The military doesn't come at you extremely quickly on this map, so you do have some time to set things up. And you do have very quick access to resources. Probably the saving grace of this map is the entrance and exit of this map are basically right next door to each other. This is like the shortest trade path on this entire map. Just pretend like that's not happening. We're going to ignore that. And it means you can get a ton of resources and be selling them all the time because of how quickly the traders are just entering and exiting. They're coming out, coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out, coming in. It's just a constant, like, look at all this. It's just a non-stop train of traders here. You do have a lot of space on this map. It's just setting up your water here that you have to be careful with. Everything is coming from this one reservoir up here, which you can't get immediately because of the natives. You need to have, I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000 plebs in order to unlock your mission posts. But once you get that, it's just a mad dash to set everything up and then get everything the way you want it. And then once that's stable, you have your military. You have a nice area for patricians. Once again, we have like a shared 2 9x9 patrician area here, where we have the Grand Temple of Neptune providing water for these guys, and then they're sharing resources from this area right here. All in all, the space wasn't too bad. It was just planning the space that made this one a nightmare. Coming up next is Londinium. And Londinium, oh my god, was this one a challenge. So Londinium is going to be... Oh, we got the victory screen right here. Let's continue governing for 2 more years. Send that pottery. Londinium has a pop goal of 17,500. When I first entered this map, I was just thinking, what am I going to do? Where am I going to fit all these people? We're going to need so many blocks. We're going to need so much stuff everywhere, all the time. On top of that, you have a bit of a restriction on patricians on this map because you don't have access to an academy, which means in order to get 3x3s, you need a pantheon. So this is a rare sight. Pantheon is something you almost never see, because it's very expensive to make. It requires so many resources, but it does allow your houses to level up another level here. So what ended up happening on this map is we had kind of an initial area here. These patricians actually weren't patricians. This was like my first area here where I had normal houses plus this. And then we expanded over here, and then I was like, okay, where else can I go? Where else can I fit things? Well, we can fit 2 9x9s here. We can fit 2 9x9s here. I can fit one up here. I can fit patricians up here. I can fit 2 over here, even though it's right next to where I'm going to be invaded. The invasions are tough on this map. There's a lot of enemies that are coming at you. So you can see I walled this up very thickly. I've got some legions right here. This map, I think especially, you want to get legionaries, not just swordsmen. Swordsmen aren't going to cut it. You need fat boys standing on the front line, able to take hits from those axe lads that are coming at you. This one, you can see, just if I zoom out, you can see really how much of this map, even though a lot of it isn't used efficiently, how much we had to do. Because we ended up with, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 blocks for 17,500 plebs, or citizens. It's a mix of plebs and patricians. This one was a big challenge. Even though there was no restart on this one, it took a long, long time to figure out how I wanted to get everything done, especially in areas like this where we didn't really have too much space, and I needed to maximize the amount of houses I have in all these places. Gosh, just trying to get that population goal was difficult, and we actually ended up getting a Grand Temple to Neptune, because Neptune will give you a small bonus to how many people can fit in houses, just so we could get to this population goal. It was a tough one, but once again, we were not defeated, and we came out on top. Dacia, or Sarmazeta Tusa, whatever, however you pronounce it, I just call it Dacia, is next. Last few maps here. Dacia is a fun map. This one actually required a restart the first time I did it. A local uprising. Get out of here. Get out of here. Who are you? Get out of here. I'm trying to explain things, and you're invading my city. Just skedaddle, please. So this map is a fun little test, a little experiment. On this map, you don't have a lot of trade. You have a few partners, and they don't buy a lot of stuff. You can see these numbers are quite low. 10, 10, 25, 10, 20, 10. You don't have a lot of ability to sell a ton of stuff. Now, what this means, even though you have a lot less population goal than the previous map, what this means is you're relying on the natives, so these native huts, buying stuff from you. And this is your key. What ends up being the secret of your population's success on this map is setting up areas of marble specifically where the native traders can come up and buy stuff, go back, and keep buying it. They don't have a limit on how much stuff they can buy. So if you have something near them that they can buy, they're going to come get it. Okay, forget everything I said. I'm a liar, apparently. They're going to come get it. I'm just going to pause it because I don't want to deal with the invasions. And they'll just keep buying things over and over. This map was a bit of a challenge for space. I had the initial idea here, I think this was correct, to get my first block, but we only had a single one-banger here. This was just one 9x9, that's not a lot of plebs, so we had to expand almost immediately. We set up two 9x9s here, but again, this was a very narrow corridor. We don't have a lot of space to work with stuff here. We got one here, we snagged one out here. We got these two down here, but this was a bit difficult to get the water where I wanted it and have enough space for everything I wanted. And then, of course, in the north, we had our patrician area. And we ended up just getting one patrician block here. This map, given the edicts, given the lack of trade, and given the military, was one of the more challenging ones for trying to do a 9x9. Definitely, none of these are impossible, but if you're looking for a challenging map to do this, this is definitely one of the ones where you have to have a plan going into it, or you're going to be in trouble. All right, second to last map here. Oh boy, Lindum. Another big pop map, 16,000 here, with a huge space restriction. This map actually is quite difficult to fit things on cleanly if you're not doing certain events. Specifically ones that let you blow up these houses, which I did not. I actually made this harder on myself than I needed it to be. Lindum has very significant military, and they come at you from three very distinct directions. So you have up here, over here, and then all the way down here. This means that you're trying to really maximize your defenses in three different areas. You're trying to like cover all of these places, all while having enough plebs to get up here, and you have a special event on this map to be completing Hadrian's Wall. So a lot of the resources you're getting are getting snatched up by Caesar to continue the wall because you want to get the Hadrian's Wall finished so that the attacks lessen. It is a big map with a ton of stuff to do all the time. Like, there's always events, there's always things that are happening. Thankfully, for the space consideration, even without opening this area up, we were able to get enough stuff. And thanks to the Grand Temple of Neptune, this is like the clutch MVP here, I'm telling you. We were able to get a fat, even 4x4 large palaces here, which store like 200 people. Very cool. And we were just able to absolutely blow through this map as soon as we cleared that kind of early game nightmare stage. But this was, I would say, the second most challenging map outside of Mediolanum to get everything right in the order we wanted it to be. And we did have some restarts. This one actually involved not full restarts, but we had to do some saving and loading because I hadn't properly prepared defenses at certain points, and we get invaded there, and I just didn't have things up, so I had to reset things. This was a big challenge. Even if you're playing this map normally, this is not an easy map. So if you're going 9x9, be prepared to suffer, because this one is tough. And that brings us to our last map. This is it, Massilia. Good old Massilia, map number 20, mission number 20. 18,000 population goal, 100 prosperity. This is the creme de la creme, and oh my god, this was a nightmare for the 9x9. Now, there is a lot of space on this map for normal blocks. In fact, you can see there's a ton of spaces we're not using because we just couldn't fit 9x9s here. It's just a little bit too narrow. So we had to end up expanding a lot on the coast, and even on this island, which I never use for plebs. Never. I've never done this before, but we needed the people. This map has my grand accomplishment here, which is 4 9x9s sharing one resource area. This was something I did. I'll put it that way. It was not great, especially this poor block here, having to travel all the way to get resources here. It ended up working out, but it took a lot. There's no easy farmland on this map. The only, like, mega farms you're going to be building for wheat are down here, which, I mean, look at this. Bridge. That costs a lot of money, and it's far away. So you're relying on fish for a very long time on this map before you're really accessing your wheat. There's a ton of events on this map you don't have easy access to things you want to have right away. A lot of things in your repertoire, your toolbox, are unlocked slowly over time. There's a event to get large temples and then grand temples. This is one of the few maps that having basically all 5 grand temples is basically required. Maybe not series, you don't absolutely need her, but I think it's just so nice to have. You need your mausoleums, you need oracles, you need your lighthouse, and I kind of cheese this. Lighthouse I put up here. You want your caravanserai, you want just all these things. But once you get there, like once things slowly start coming together and you're getting enough plebs and you've got your defenses and you're switching out your swords for legionaries and you're starting to breathe a sigh of relief and you're just worried about expanding, it starts to calm down a little bit. But that being said, this map is a great challenge. Even on a normal playthrough, it's a great challenge. But this is a 9x9 experiment in patience, because you have a lot of blocks you need to set up with not a lot of room. Look at this. There's no room on this side for anything. There's no room on this side for hardly anything. This block, this is as far as we can take it, basically, medium insula, because we just can't fit too much more there. And it just feels bad, right? Because normally you'd have like a nice block over here, but you can't fit another 9x9 here. So that's out. You only have this area, which is, that's fine. And it's just a big, tough map made tougher by the restrictions of the 9x9. Of course, this is my proudest patrician map because we have nothing but the luxury palaces here. Just look at these, except for this guy. This nerd just refused to level up, but screw him, who cares? This really made it a lot easier because these just store so much people. You can tax them, you can get a ton of money. And it definitely was a lot of fun setting this up. We did have a bit of a employment dump with libraries and stuff up here and in some other places. But all in all, this was a great big fun challenge. And for the 9x9, even though it was slow, especially at the start for everything we needed, and we were in debt several times, we got it done. And it was a lot of fun. So that means that's all 20 maps, the Reconquered campaign completed with the 9x9 challenge. It is completely doable. In fact, in some maps, it's even more comfortable than I thought it would be. So if you're looking for a challenge, if you're looking for a way to replay the Reconquered campaign and make it a little bit spicier, I highly recommend going for only 9x9 blocks and seeing if you can make it work too. And maybe you can even make it work better than I can. Maybe you see some spaces that are really unoptimized for me and you're like, hey, I could fit something here. Give it a try. Let me know if it worked out for you. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.